Before then, one of my friends came and said, Kemi, come and give your life to Christ. And I told her that, I said, Julia, if I give my life to Christ now, will you pay my school fees? If my dad says he's not going to pay my fees, will you pay? Then she was just looking at me. She said I should not worry, that God was going to take care of it and all the rest. To go and see my dad. He was angry. That was after I gave my life to Christ, and he knew I was my sister. And I traveled home to see him. He drove me out. That's just the truth. So at a point in time in our lives, and me personally, when they began to see what God has been doing in our lives, that is just where the whole testimony is. My name's Mrs. Adekemi Ukeka, a Muslim convert. I'm a Yoruba woman from Ekiti State, married to an Igbo man from Abia State. I am from a family of 8, of which I am the third born. And my salvation story goes thus. I remember when I was in SS1, I went to a boarding school. And in our SS1, 2 young ladies came to join us then. And that was the beginning of revival in our sets. A lot of things began to happen. And there were a lot of our sets people were getting born again. People began to know Christ, there was this revival anyway that came up that time. And then there was this particular sugar in the boarding house. And they wrote Unicorn 666 on it. I remember vividly. And then they brought it out. They were saying that if you have the mark of the beast, talking about the mark of the beast, that's all the people that will take it, they will go to hell and all the rest. And I was like scared as a young girl, a Muslim as at that time. I was like, is it true? Is it how the whole world is going to end and all the rest? Just talking about all these things. And I was like, wow. And so I went home on holidays and I went home, I told my dad, because I'm close to him. I told him everything. I told my mom also. I said, this is what they are saying, that the world is going to end. This is what is going to happen and all the rest. And my dad was so angry. As a Muslim, I was like, who are those people that are trying to convert his daughter and all the rest? He said he was going to go back to the school to report to the principal. I started begging him that it's not like that and all the rest. And I think that was, all these stories were just there, kept on. And then I went back to school. And I think my daddy actually went and told them, the VPs at that time, that this is what's going on in the school and all the rest. But all this could not stop the revival that was going on because it was really a revival. Now, moving forward, after I left secondary school, I now went on IT. I went to a polytechnic as a then. And then from there, I was still a Muslim, just doing my thing there. And I was like, but all those memories of what happened and those things I heard were just on my head. And so there was a day I just told myself that I was going to give my life to Christ. I didn't want to miss out. I didn't want a situation whereby the world will end and then the rapture and I was not going to be part of it. I just told myself, I said, I was going to give my life to Christ. Before then, one of my friends came and said, Kemi, come and give your life to Christ. Out till tomorrow, the lady, Julia. And I told her that, I said, Julia, if I give my life to Christ now, will you pay my school fees? If my dad says he's not going to pay my fees, will you pay? Then she was just looking at me. She said I should not worry, that God was going to take care of it and all the rest. But I kept telling myself, I just said, so I remember when I went to, I now went on that IT. I just made up my mind. Because of all I've been hearing, nobody preached to me another thing entirely, but because of those things that have sunk in me when I was in school. And so this same, my friend, I followed her to Church of God Mission. I followed her there. And when we got there that day, they were now making altar call. And they said, if you are there and you want to give your life to Christ, because I've already told myself that I was going to just give my life to Christ. I don't know, whatever is going to happen. And then when they made altar call, I just went out. My friend was just looking at me that, Kemi has made up her mind. I just went straight. And that was how I came out for altar call in that church and I gave my life to Christ. And after then, I went from outside the IT because I did it in Benin. And of course, immediately after my IT, I came to Lagos. Meanwhile, my elder sister was already, she was married and she married a Christian. And so it was like, okay, when I gave my life to Christ and I went to Lagos, I went to stay with her. So I was already in a safe hand of somebody that had already born again. So from there, I started following her to church and all the rest. But when I traveled, because my dad was already he will be hearing of everything happening to us now. So he has already heard that Kemi has given her life to Christ. It was like her. So when I went to Ado, meanwhile, I'll not fail to say this. My dad, even as a Muslim, he believes that when you're a woman, when you marry a man, that you will definitely take to the man's religion. And that was why even when my older sister got married, he did not, there was issues and all the rest, but they have said that since you are married to a Christian, there's nothing you can do. So when I now went to our hometown, Ado Ekiti, to go and see my dad, he was angry. That was after I gave my life to Christ, and he knew I was my sister. And I traveled home to see him. He drove me out. That's just the truth. He did not even attend to me. He opened the door. I knocked. He knew I was the one. He didn't answer me. By the time he came out, he started cursing me. You know, as a Muslim, there's nothing he did not say. There's nothing he didn't say, rather. He said, in short, he even called me a witch that day. Nothing he did not say. He was cursing and cursing and cursing. I was just looking at him. I was telling him, inside of me, everything he was saying, right? I was just rejecting it. That is not my portion. He didn't allow me inside the house that day. And that was how I just left to my auntie's place where I put up. And from there, I came back to Lagos. So coming back to Lagos was like, I was with my sister. So we continued on that journey. And it wasn't only me. Like I said, we're 6 of us. And the 6 of us are Christians today. We are all born again children of God. But my parents are still Alaji and Alaja till tomorrow. So at a point in time in our lives, and me personally, when they began to see what God has been doing in our lives, that is just where the whole testimony is. They couldn't resist than rather to just calm down. They saw that rather than we going backward, because that is the way. But like my dad, we always say that, as a Muslim, that is the religion that rich people are doing. That's his preaching. You know? We say rich people. I want the most important people. Who is who? That are the people that are Muslim. We are going to do one religion that is that's what he normally says. But when he saw the hand of God. He saw the glory of God. He saw that we are just moving from one level of glory to another. Every one of us, and especially myself. He didn't have an option. He didn't have an alternative. And then when I wanted to marry, another part of the story, that I was not going to marry a Christian and another tribe. Fortunately for me, my dad came back from Mecca the day I was a day before I was going to get married. He came back from Mecca and he didn't have an option, because we had even prayed. We have told God, and I told God that, see, if truly you want me to be here, everything, you just have to make my parents to accept everything about the whole thing. And as God will have it, he accepted. And I want to say that I have never regretted any day of my life ever coming to Christ. It has been from one level of glory to another. I must say, even relating my salvation story to coming to Winners. Although coming to Winners, I've always, even when I have not been in Winners, when I've seen Bishop, I've always told myself that I'm going to this man's church. So when I met my husband, I said, I want to go to this pastor's church. We didn't have any option. And so when we got married, we came to Ikorodu. The first point of call was to come to Winners Chapel Ikorodu. And it has been seamless. It has been wonderful. And in this great commission, I must tell you that this commission, I use inhaler. I use inhaler as an asthmatic patient. God took away inhaler from me, from this commission. Number 2, 12 years stagnancy. I was at home doing nothing. The Lord gave me a job in this commission, 12 years. And to crown it all, I had gallstone for 12 years. Going to 12 years, and God healed me of gallstone. It has been from one level of glory to another. God has promoted me spiritually. He has given me a platform to serve him, even a platform, Teen Store Corner, that I never thought I was going to have. But God has placed all these things in my hand in this commission. I must say, it has been a wonderful journey, working for God. God has been there. He has been faithful. And I must say, God of liberation is alive. I just want to encourage somebody out there. You've given your life to Christ and you're still at the back seats. You're still thinking, what will people say? What will my parents say? What will anybody around you say? I want to give you a word of advice. As long as it is God that have called you, as long as it is God that you have made up your mind to serve and to follow, He will always make a way for you. I'll give you my own testimony. Especially when I wanted to get married, I must let you know that I had so much differences. My husband, I came from a Muslim family. He's an Igbo guy. So the whole thing about the tribe, the whole thing about the religion was there. My parents actually came back from Mecca some few days to our engagement, and we traveled down to Ekiti. My parents at first did not want to accept, but we went on our knees, we prayed to God. There's nothing God. That's why I said, as long as it is God, God will make a way for you. Do not be afraid. You just take a step of faith. Do not be afraid. The other time I said that, if my friend said, if you give your life, and I said, who will pay my school fees? God made the provision. God will always make provision for such things. We are not saying that you should outrightly discard them or anything, but when it comes to that point of taking a decision, especially in that which you believe and that which you have proposed, it is God that will fight for you. You don't need to be afraid. Just take a step of faith and then be prayerful. Put everything in the hand of God. God has a way of doing things. He has a way of going about doing it. You are not the one that will do it. It is not in your ability. It is not in your capacity. It is not you. It is God. So hold on to that God. Just keep doing what you know how to do. If you have been serving Him, even just anyhow, be more committed to serving Him. Be more committed to serving Him. Hold on to Him. He has never failed before, and He will never fail you. We have diverse testimonies of people. By the time you give your life to Christ, or you have given your life to Christ, you will see how God, He will stand by you. He will stand by you. He will be there for you. He will never leave you nor forsake you. That's what the Bible says. So at that period, it is now left for you to exercise your faith. It is your faith that is needed at this time. You not say, I believe, because you're just afraid and scared, you now sit back. No, move a step forward in prayers and was still exercising that which you know how to do. And you will see God in action. He has done it for me, and I know He's out there. He's the same God yesterday, today, and He is forever. He will do it for you. Praise the Lord.